Hey guys, welcome back to part number 2 of my MiG-21 build and this beautiful German markings. So this week we're going to start with the exhaust nozzle, this Resin aftermarket set, also from Eduard. So we'll get this guy built up and painted, and then we'll get everything buttoned up, and by the end of the episode we'll have the assembly fully complete and ready for paint next week. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Hey guys, welcome back. Part number 2 of the MiG-21 build. So as you know, last week we built this tiny little cockpit, and today we're going to carry on the instructions, and next part is really kind of work on the exhaust nozzle. And then what happens is we sandwich it all together with the 2 fuselage parts and we get on to building. So this part, there's not too much on this kit, so we'll pretty much finish the assembly and get it ready for priming and paint next week. So, okay, let's get going here. So you see on my bench I got a number of tools, including my organ harvesting saw. So that's kind of what we need for the resin part. So let me kind of talk a little bit about the resin, what we got here, and then we'll talk about the tools we need. So this is the Eduard Resin exhaust nozzle for this kit. Now the kit is Eduard 2, so this should be a straightforward fit, no surgery or anything, because it's the same manufacturer, so fingers crossed it's going to be a good fit, unlike some airy stuff and other manufacturers don't always fit very good. So inside this box, this wasn't very expensive, I don't remember the exact price, but as I mentioned last part, MiG-21 is all about the engine. It's basically a rocket with wings, right? So I want to just upgrade this part a little bit as an upgrade. So put the box out of the way. So what you get in the box is you get a little bit of photo etch. So you get the fan blades, you get 3 parts of resin, and you get the instructions. And as you can see, it should be hopefully pretty straightforward. Just the 3 parts of resin go together with the fan blades in, and it just gets sandwiched with the fuselage. And again, this is the same manufacturer, so hopefully it does fit without any major standing up issues or problems, that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do is always with resin, they come on like blocks. Now I've talked about this in previous parts. I know my F-14 Tamiya build, I did a quite detailed part about the removing resin blocks. But basically, this part right here is just where the casting block. It just needs to be cut off and sanded down carefully. Same with this one right here. And this is just, you just need the blade at the end. So all of this is basically junk that needs to be cut off right there. So how we do that is we use a razor saw. So there's a few different types. We've got this is a popular one, but if you get any kind of flex, the blades can bend and break kind of easily. I like to use a Zona saw. Despite the gnarly look of this, this is a fine blade. It looks pretty gnarly. It looks pretty expensive too, but actually you can pick these up. I got mine from Scale Hobbyist, I think for like $5. So these aren't very expensive at all. They do different types. This is a fine. I think I might next time get maybe one a medium. This is maybe a little bit too fine. Also, with working resin, they do kind of chew up the blades a little bit. So, like I say, it's $5. I've had this about 3-4 years maybe, and I think it's about time to get another one. So next time I put an order in, I'll probably buy a new one, because it is struggling a little bit, the resin, to cut, because I've got so much stuff with it in the past. But yeah, I might go up, like I say, go up from, I think this is fine. I do have an extra fine as well. This guy, but this one I found is pretty useless because the size of it, you can only cut, it's hard to cut blocks off because it's not quite big enough, whereas this size is a lot easier to work with. I think it's you've got tiny parts maybe, but with this it just makes it easier to kind of cut through the block in one go. So I've got the saw. Most important thing is a good respirator. Resin, I mean, we're only talking tiny little amounts, but still it's good housekeeping. Resin dust is harmful, gets in your lungs, it's kind of like asbestos. It's not great stuff, so you should always wear a mask. And obviously this one not only has the cartridge for the fumes for painting, but it has a particulate filter on the outside too. So this is what you need, a particulate filter, so it stops that dust getting into your lungs. So respirator, wet paper towel, so I cut on top of it so all the dust sticks to the wet, and then just a sanding stick. A coarse one normally is what I use with resin. It does kind of chew these guys up too, although when I'm done I just wash it in the sink and it removes most of the junk, but resin does kind of chew up your standing sticks too. That's pretty much it. So that's kind of a good overview. These parts are so small, I want to kind of concentrate on this one, and so I'll get my mask on, I'm going to start cutting these parts off, and then when I come back we'll start assembling it. Okay, we are done with cleaning the parts up. What I did afterwards too is, you can see we get to hold it like that. 3 parts. So yeah, cut them perfectly and just sanded them down with a sanding stick to get them to where I needed, as I mentioned earlier. What I did then was I just carefully run them under the faucet in the sink. Make sure I didn't drop it and glued it down the plug. But yeah, I held them very carefully. Still a little bit wet inside. So I've already washed them to get rid of that dust and stuff. I'm just going to let them air dry for a little bit and then we're ready to go painting. So that's the 3 parts. Again, they're so tiny, but hopefully you can see the detail there. It's going to be much better. If I kind of, you guys see that, if I compare it to kit blades and stuff, you can see there the fan, and there's a 2-part, so you get a seam in for the main kind of cylinder part, and then there's another fan blade right there, and a nozzle, where is it? Nozzle's there. Hopefully you can kind of see that nozzle, and then if I show against this one, I'm not sure how well, it's so tiny, just to see how well detailed that is. So I think it's definitely worth the upgrade. And again, fingers crossed, being the same manufacturer, it should fit like a glove in there. So yeah, so these 3 parts are done. So what's going to happen is you have to put the photo etch fan blade into that first, and we glue it all together. So the inside's going to be silver, the fan blade's going to be green, bright green supposedly, and then this ring around the back here is going to be dark iron. So I'm going to let this dry a little bit. I'm going to paint them all separately. So paint the silver on the inside, get the fan blades in, put it all together, then we'll mask it up and do that dark iron ring at the back last. So I'm just going to put these here somewhere safe. And let me zoom in a little bit for the photo etch. Cut these parts off. I might have made it a little difficult for myself. So the fan blades are going to be bright green according to the instructions, and I said the inside's going to be silver, stainless silver. So we paint that silver, then the blades go on here, the first stage compressor blades. I was thinking maybe I cut them off, but I thought maybe it might be easier to paint the whole fret green before you cut it off. That might be the easiest way to do it, and then apply it and then touch it up as need be. But what I'm going to do now is, I mean, it's going to be too delicate to kind of paint, and then once I bend them all and stuff anyway and touch them, it's just going to flake right off. So I'm going to paint this interior silver, and then what I'm going to do then is I'm going to attach the blades unpainted, put the instructions on here, and then once it's all glued, I'm just going to carefully hand paint it with a green color, like a bright green, and then we'll put it all together and we'll go from there. So a lot of work ahead of me. Oh, one thing I did do is moving on the instructions. The whole next page is about wings. And I put those together no problem at all using the part we made last week. This little part before goes in there, makes the undercarriage bay. Wings fit, perfect fit, and just, I mean, I didn't really quite notice it, but just look at this detail on here, if you can see it. If I can kind of hold it up to the light. It's just really, really nice detail on there. I mean, it's for this 72nd scale. I mean, compared to Airfix, you can see the pound lines, how delicate they are. Now, I've painted this kind of stuff before, and I was worried last time that with primer paint would just cover all the details, but it doesn't. It's perfect. Did that. You add some lights in here, and before you sandwich the 2 wing parts together. Zoom out a little. So what you do is on the inside of the lights, this one right here, before you sandwich it, I did have to kind of pull it apart. I did glue it, but before you glue it, on the underside of the light, just add a little bit of silver. So I just used my usual method, the old Molotow liquid chrome pen. So just dab a little bit on each side, on the inside, so when you just get the reflection. So rather than plastic, you can actually see silver reflection. There's a bunch of lights you can see on the inside there too. You have to paint various colours. I didn't paint them because I didn't think you see them, but now you're not really going to see it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably mask it, mask oil, and then paint it, and at the very end take it all off, and then just hand paint the lights blue and black, depending on what the instructions say. But hopefully you can see the light, just catch it underneath there, the lights inside the wheel well. But yeah, really nice detail. And I did actually just do a quick dry fit, and it fits amazing. It's a really nice kit so far. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. So enough waffling here. I'm going to go ahead and get these guys dry, get all this together, and then we'll come back and then we're going to start sandwiching all this together. So we're going to get, I've done that ring already, so we're going to put the cockpit in, we're going to put exhaust working on, sandwich these together, and then basic next part is the wings go onto the bottom, and then there's the spine systems that hides the panel line, seam line, sorry, along the top. So that goes on, and we all bring it together. So I mean, it's not too much to this. It's a nice little weekend model to get together, and we can really spend some nice time going, you know, to town on some weathering and some painting and stuff with this. So yeah, it's not too much. I mean, it's half a dozen pages or so. The rest is, you know, ordnance and lumps and bumps and stuff. So cool. So again, so let me go ahead and again work on the getting this guy painted up, and then we'll come back and sandwich it all together. Right, so I've gone ahead and painted all this stuff up. It's looking really good. Went together, no problem at all with the photo etch. It's a little tricky, but a little bit of super glue and stuff, no problem. So let's kind of talk about run through the colors. So before I did anything, I primed it with my usual Mr. Surface of 1500 black. Just give it a nice kind of base, and also with the resin, just make sure the paint kind of sticks a little bit better. So went with that guy. The back end here in the fuselage wants to be a silver kind of color. I just used a polished aluminum from AK Metals, AK Extreme Metals, sorry. You can use any silver you want. I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think you can see any of this, to be honest with you, once the nozzle's in there. But anyway, so I did that. The front end, as you can see there, and a couple other parts were done with dark iron. So I used the 214. I'm not sure this is a buffer ball. I think there's two dark irons. I think there's a buffer ball, and this is maybe the metallic one. Not sure exactly. MC214. But anyway, so I think they changed the labeling maybe. But anyway, dark iron. Don't use Tamiya dark iron. I think it's XF84. That's just not really a dark iron color. That's a beautiful color, but that's really good for carbon fiber. So when I built my bike, I think it was I can't remember which bike it was, but Ducati maybe. But anyway, XF84 is a really good carbon fiber color, but for dark iron, it's not really right. So I prefer this one. The stainless steel inside, really nice color. I like the Model Master stainless steel. Again, you can use any stainless steel. I just like this one. It's a buffer ball one. Not makes much difference, but yeah, I think they've gone out of business now. So get these while you can. So these are really nice metallics. So the stainless steel, nice kind of bluey tint to that. And finally, the first stage compressor blades. I know I was going to hand paint it, but it's so delicate. I don't want to kind of damage anything. So I just went. It says to do bright green. I just pulled out deep green XF26. Not that it's going to make any difference at all, because again, you're not going to see any of this probably unless you stuck a flashlight up the nozzle, and I don't think anybody's ever going to do that. So that's the green. I just kind of misted it on. There's still some of the photo etch kind of metallic-y color behind it, but I kind of like that. It gives the metallic-y kind of bit to it. So I wasn't going to go back on a flood it with any more, but I think that's kind of good to go. So that's kind of rundown. Oh, and the little ring on this guy, it's going to be hard to kind of show you. I don't touch it, mess it up. But the little ring was dark iron round. It's stainless steel with dark iron ring. So I was going to. It's kind of a little tricky to mask it because it's kind of like, you know, the shape of it. It's kind of angled. So I just used a brush, and it's really easy just to hand paint it because it's raised. With the side of the brush, just run around with some same dark iron, Mr. color, Mr. metal, and that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to let these dry off a little bit. I'm going to glue it all together. I'm not sure exactly if I need to glue that part on yet or later, so we'll kind of see how we go and get it all kind of buttoned up, and then we'll come back and I'll kind of show you where I'm at. So I've been working away, putting this guy together for the last few minutes, and I must say it's really goes together really, really well. I mean, well designed. So the spine thing glues on top is a perfect fit, and not only that, I mean, it covers the seam line. The way that the wings go on, it takes that seam line away from the underneath too. So I mean, it's really well engineered, made kit. I have a 48 scale one, so I'm not sure it goes together the same way. The only thing niggles I have is all these tiny little pitot tubes and stuff are molded in. So I'm just worried when it comes to wearing, I have to be very careful because I'm worried I'm going to snap all that stuff off when I come back with a wash and that kind of thing. But yeah, so far so good. I mean, this little guy is yeah, really fun to build. I did go ahead and obviously had to put a head nozzle on the back. Again, I'm not sure I can catch the light. You're not going to see that with the light unless the light's shining directly in that. But it looks really good back there. I just put a little foam in before I start painting so I don't just overpaint it. As you can see, as I mentioned earlier, the cockpit, guess what? You see nothing. Like the work we do on the instrument panels and stuff, you don't see any of it. I mean, you know it's there. I wish I should have followed the instructions, not put a seat in, because now I've got to somehow paint the back behind the cockpit with a cockpit color. It's going to be hard with the seat in the way. So I'm going to pull the seat out. I just used a little bit of the white top glue so it'll pull out. Or maybe I won't bother. If I'm doing the canopy down, I don't think you're going to see it because the framing and stuff, it's just a small area. We'll see how I go. So I got the front bits to go on. what else? Some flaps, some stuff at the bottom here, some random stuff to go on. As you can see, instructions over here. So I got the flaps. I'm not going to put horizontal stabilizers on as always. I do it separately, just a little bit easier to paint and weather separately. Gear we're not going to worry about right now. We're going to take care of that at the very end once we're done. So we've got some kind of pods or cannons or whatever to go on. So yeah, I'm pretty much almost ready for paint, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm scrolling through here. I've got speed brakes, some wing fences and stuff. So I've got a few little things to do. So I'm not going to put tiny little stuff. I'm not going to put on like antennas and stuff. It's going to break off. But I'll continue to put the main stuff on. Obviously, I'll get the front end done. I've got to paint a little bit black. I think where the front kind of cowling. Kind of thing, is it not cowling, the shroud that goes over the instrument panel, and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to work away. I honestly don't think I have much work left, to be honest with you. I think maybe half an hour, and this thing's going to be put together and ready for paint. I've got to master canopy up, obviously, get the canopy on, and get ready for the fun part. So yeah, so, I mean, the detail's really nice. I had a little bit of black primer left in my gun, that's why I sprayed the wing slightly, but yeah, looking really, really good. I'm really impressed with this kit. For a beginner, ooh, I don't know. If you got good dexterity and you handle small parts and stuff, then maybe I think definitely could be a great beginner's kit because it goes together so well. If you struggle with tiny little stuff, maybe you want to step it up a scale to go to 48 scale or 32. But you don't even have to do the photo etch because the kit does come with the decals for the instrument panel, and as you see nothing in it, especially when the canopy's on. So I mean, I think you'd be more inclined just to do it with the decals. The seat kind of blend same. Seat's kind of the same colour as the plastic, so I mean once it's all painted white and stuff, the seat's going to stick out a little bit more. Once the whole fuselage is painted and weathered and that kind of stuff. But yeah, there we go. Really kind of happy how that thing's going. I mean, this is a weekend project. I'm trying to think how much I spent on this. I've already spent maybe 4 hours yesterday and maybe about 3 or 4 hours today, and that's where I got up to right now. And that includes detailing the cockpit, all the photo etch and stuff. Doing the resin engine, which I keep calling it engine, exhaust nozzle. I do every video I call them exhaust nozzles engines. I don't know why, it's just ingrained in my mind. I know it isn't, but I keep saying it. So excuse me if I keep mentioning that. But yeah, this is a nice little upgrade. I'm not sure you can see too much of it back there. But again, it's just a fun little thing to work, practice with resin, and I know it's there. And it definitely looks better than the kit one. In terms of spraying the inside back here with that stainless, with the silver color, well, guess what? Spoiler alert, you don't see any of that, so I think that's kind of pointless. This back bit spray, I sprayed inside dark iron, put instructions, which you definitely do see, but all the stuff back here, paint silver, is just a waste of time because you're not going to see any of that in this scale. But yeah, there we go. So let me kind of go ahead and work on and carry on this afternoon and kind of get this thing going together, get more stuff on it, get the flaps on and stuff. Then I'll come back and I'll show you kind of where I'm at and talk about any kind of issues I encountered or any kind of tips, that kind of stuff. Okay, we're all together. We've got the canopy on, flaps are on. The stabilizers are just loose. It'd be easy to paint them separately, especially because there's like a metallic band metal kind of on the back here, so it's going to be easy to paint the ring around the back and then put these on afterwards, so they just kind of fall out. But yeah, looking really good. You always get a couple of paint masks in the set for the little lights underneath, which I've added. I've added a little bit of mask, liquid mask on the lights underneath, so they don't really work that great, but we'll see if this works. I use Mr. Hobby, Mr. Masking Salt R. Comes with a huge brush. I just use a little toothpick just to kind of put it a little bit more delicately on the lights there. A little foam in the back, so we don't want to paint over the exhaust nozzle, and the front end too. We're going to paint the actual thing at the front green separately, and we'll just glue it at the very end. It's going to be a lot easier. And there's a ring that goes in the end too. This guy too. We'll paint these guys separately and add them on at the end with some super glue or PVA glue. One mistake I did make, going back, correcting myself, I didn't notice this, but rookie mistake, right here, this little logo means drill for the pylons. I didn't drill the holes, or the cannon, so I had to go back and basically just do a little bit of correction. So I had to go back, and what I did was to get the pylons on. This scale, I'm just put the pylons right now. I don't need to worry about wearing them separately and stuff. So I just had to cut the tabs off and basically just glue them on, kind of eyeball, kind of line them up and then glue it on. So it's not going to be the most strong fit. They feel pretty good. Not going to snap off any easily, I don't think, hopefully. But again, I had to kind of line them up because I didn't drill those holes, which I used to do all the time. So normally the first thing I do is when I get a kit is drill the holes out because I always forget for the pylons. But center one, I'm going to do a fuel tank, so center fuel pylon. Just need to clean this guy up, but it's going to be a fuel tank that's going to go underneath. Something like that. So we'll actually weather that up and paint it separately and stuff. Canopy, I took a risk and I just extra thin, I just glued it down. I don't think it's going to fog it. I got quite a big margin around here, so you know I don't want to open. I mean, you can just see the parts. Obviously, the parts aren't going to be aren't masked. It's going to be paint black and then fuselage color. So you can see how small the window is on this. So again, you're not going to see anything in that cockpit we spent all that time doing last week. But yeah, really good. Really happy how it went together. You can't really drop the flaps because just the way they kind of fit here doesn't quite work. These ones you can tweak a little bit, but similar to rudder, you can't really adjust it, unfortunately. But yeah, looking really good and gonna go pretty quickly. So again, we're ready for paint. So I'm gonna get next week. We'll go ahead and prime this up and get it painted. Do this, and then obviously the stabilizers and stuff. Get that beautiful kind of white and the German scheme kind of going on this, and then once that's done, we'll work on the other little bits separately, like the landing gear and the doors and that kind of stuff, and the nose, and bring it all together. So really happy how it's turning out. This will probably just be like a 3 or 4 parter. Not too much on this one. Just a little kit. Good 70 seconds scale kit. Like I said, it went together really nicely, and really enjoying this one so far. So that's it for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you again next week. As always, the usual stuff. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and liking, all that kind of crap. And I'll see you next week. Have a good one. See ya. Bye bye.